Hey guys, so today we're going to be covering a top 10 best characters in Dragon Ball Legends list. This is going to be the July 2025 list. It is possible we do another list in July because the After Party Legendary Finish character should be dropping on the 23rd. And if it is as powerful as Omega was last year, whoever it is, then I imagine I'll probably make an updated version of this list after we've tested that character out. So there might be another version of this list coming out later this month. So if that is the case, I'll probably come back to this list and just like retitle it Part 1 or something. But July 2025, we now have the final roster out for the anniversary characters. Of course, Part 3 being Frieza Saga themed Ultra Full Power Frieza and Ultra Namek Goku are the new additions here. Last time I did a list, it was a tier list, not an actual top 10 rankings. So we're going to be changing things up a bit today and going back to the top 10 format. As per usual, every character is ranked at 14 stars, best teams, everything maxed out. Number 2, characters are ranked based on their current position in the meta as it stands as of me recording the video. That doesn't mean a character who's ranked higher than another character is always going to be better than that character. It is completely dependent on the meta. And then number 3, of course, all the rankings here are based on my personal experience using the characters and fighting against the characters. And this is going to be a standard PvP list. This is not taking into consideration Proud whatsoever. So that being said, let's jump into number 10 and we'll move our way up from there. Typically when it comes to like the number 9 and number 10 spots on these lists, I do think there are a lot of times a bunch of characters you can throw in here for these slots kind of at the lower end of the list. And I definitely do think that is still the case here. I actually do think the meta is in a decent spot right now. Typically what we see with major celebration part 3s is the Ultra character releases. Basically every single team is focused around either utilizing that Ultra character or countering that Ultra character. So the meta is essentially dominated by that one character. The difference with this celebration, the 7th anniversary, is we got 2 Ultras. And those 2 Ultras are used on the same team sometimes, but also used on different teams. We have like Powerful Opponent, Lineage of Evil, Sun Family, Saiyans. So you can kind of mix and match them onto different teams. And I think that diversity has added a lot of just variance when it comes to teams that you encounter and characters you face. So the meta, I think, is actually in a pretty good spot right now compared to how it's been with other part 3s of major celebrations in the past. But for number 10 here on the list, we are going to throw on LF Full Power Frieza. This guy just got a unique equipment for part 3 of the anniversary, and I think it actually is quite good. Does this character do anything way better than anyone else in the game? Not really. I think this character is more like a jack of all trades, master of none, but he does them all pretty well, right? He does pretty good damage. He tanks decently. I don't think he's like a tank god, but I think he tanks decently well. He's supporting. He's got Disrupt at half HP. He's got Vanish Restoration for his main ability. He's got the permanent Endurance Nullification. I think he's a good character. I do. The one downside with this character is his he lacks easy cover null. The only way this guy gets cover null now is via the green card when he has the full platinum equipment, or not platinum equipment, the full unique equipment at red slots. The slot 3 red slot effect gives him 10 counts of cover null when he uses when he lands a green. I think it's when he lands it, not when he just uses it, which is obviously good, but that's really the only way he gets cover null. So that could be the biggest issue with this character. But outside of that, I do think this guy is like a good fit on some powerful opponent setups, especially if you're going full LOE. Like the team I like to use for LOE is this guy plus the Zenkai Revival Frieza plus Ultra Full Power Frieza. That lineup, I think, helps this guy perform at his best. You can Zenkai him pretty easily, right? Of course, he has his own Zenkai buff. Then you can throw a character like the yellow Super Saiyan Broly on the bench to give the HP buff to the entire team because everyone's going to be powerful opponent. This guy gets the Zenkai ability. And then you could even throw another Zenkai buffer on the bench with the original yellow Full Power Frieza, which is also going to be Z ability buffing the whole team with double defenses. But I think this guy's in a pretty good spot right now. We are certainly going to be due a big time purple character. It's got to be coming soon, man. We've been saying this for the past like 8 months or something like that. Oh, we're due for a monster purple character, and it just never happened. eventually, eventually it's going to happen. And that should, in theory, help this guy even more. But the one thing I would say, too, is we do have a lot of revives now. And especially now with the Ultra Namek Goku KO guard mechanic, kind of does detract a little bit from this character's permanent endurance nullification ability. But I think outside of that, this guy just does have a very wide array of good things about him, good tools. Again, his damage is good. He's stacking damage. He works well, I think, with the rest of his LOE character, his LOE allies. But yeah, I mean, if you wanted to throw this guy at like number 11 or 12 or something and swap someone else in at this spot, I think that's fair. But I think this guy ends up being around like 10, 11, 12, 13, somewhere in there. So I really do like this Frieza a lot. They did a very good job with his unique equip. Have him at number 10 here. Let's move on to number 9. All right, number 9 is going to be Ultra Majin Vegeta. I will just make the same comment about this character as I did with Full Power Frieza. If you want to have this guy lower, I'm okay with that. Again, I think there's a pool of like 5 to 6 characters you probably could swap between 9 and 10. If you want to have this guy at 10, if you want to have this guy at 11, 12, again, I think it's fair. This guy has definitely, he came very close to kind of just like eclipsing the anniversary in terms of being like an annoying pest type of character. He definitely still is that way, but you could definitely feel that he has started to this guy has started to feel the effects of the numerical power creep we've seen with damage guard numbers and damage inflicted numbers, right? This guy came out before Legends Fest. He obviously was able to kind of not really care too much about the Legends Fest meta shift, right? You had like Vegeta Blue drop, you had Super Saiyan 3 Goku drop, who this guy actually unironically worked very well with. We had Beast Gohan drop, but this guy really didn't get power crept by Legends Fest. He kind of has been very, very relevant for the past 5 months, moving into 2025. And we started getting the Daima meta right before the anniversary. We had the Daima, obviously the game was dominated by the Daima team for about a month and a half or so, 2 months. But this guy always kind of was like right there. He was a pretty good character to use against the Daima team. But now we're heading into the anniversary. They came out with that newsletter saying, you know, we're going to start to pump up these damage guard numbers. We're going to start to pump up these damage numbers. And we definitely did see them follow through on that, because we have characters now entering the battlefield 200% damage guard, 220% damage guard, 240% damage guard. And this Majin Vegeta undeniably still has some very, very good tools at his disposal. The auto counter gauge, the AoE green card, the buff removal, the endurance that's uncancelable. The lock-in ult obviously is one of the trademarks of this character, but at the end of the day, he can have all the tools that he wants. If his numbers aren't there, this guy is not going to be as effective as he was, and that's kind of what I feel the situation is for this character. He's got the tools to compete, but he doesn't have the numbers to compete as effectively as he did. So this is truly the essence of what power creep is in this game. We are just seeing this guy get outnumbered. Literally outnumbered. Not like outnumbered in terms of number of characters, outnumbered in terms of damage guard and damage numbers, like sheer raw numbers of the new characters. And that is why I felt like putting him at 9 was probably a good thing. A 9, 10. Again, he's got good mechanics, but it's tough for him to really compete with like the new characters, the Saiyan Saga team, the Frieza Saga team, just the Sun family team. It's just going to be tough for this guy to really compete in there. He can still do crazy things, right? Lock in AoE green, ultimate, and then like sort of stall time with his auto counter gauge, hit you with a blue card, get another green card, and then you kind of like cycle through the same thing. But when it comes to this guy now versus this guy during like part 1 of the anniversary, right? The game has completely shifted in the past 4 months, or 4 weeks. 4 weeks ago, this guy was, you know, number 2, number 3 in the game or something. Now I have him all the way down here because things have changed wildly. Things have changed wildly with the game. So I do have Ultra Majin Vegeta number 9 here. Let's move on to number 8. Coming in at number 8, we have Blue Saiyan Saga Goku. This guy got a very, very strong unique equip in part 2 of the anniversary. And we definitely have seen a bit of a switch up here in terms of how good I think this character is as a direct result of part 3 of the anniversary. It really isn't so much how good I think the character is, it's more so just the teams that he's used on. For part 2, right when this was like the Saiyan Saga team, I thought was the best team in the game during when part 2 was the most recent part of the anniversary. And I really did favor the Tien and Chaozu version of the Saiyan Saga team over this character on the team, right? It was either the Vegeta and Kaioken Goku plus this character, or it was Vegeta and Kaioken Goku plus Tien and Chaozu. I favored the Tien and Chaozu version just because it played around the solar flare a lot more effectively than the version of the team where you run this character, because this guy doesn't have a second life. You get solar flared, you get rushed, you die. So the Tien version was a bit safer in my opinion in the mirror match against the opponent Saiyan Saga team. But now, this guy, you can certainly run off of the Saiyan Saga team and just run him on a Saiyan team with Namek Goku, or you could just run Namek Goku leader slotted on a Saiyan Saga team, and this character should be able to work pretty effectively there. Obviously, the main allure of this character is his ability to give the massive amounts of damage support, 40% damage support. He's healing, he's got the disrupted half HP. Just all around, he's a pretty damn good character. I don't think he's particularly incredible on his own, but he is, I think, doing quite a bit more than, for example, the Red Krillin that dropped for the Part 3 characters. This character is more of a, he's more of a, like, self, I don't even, he's just more of a more competent unit on his own than Krillin is, on top of already being a really strong support and healing character, so... I think this guy fits well with Namek Goku. Of course, the main difference being now in Part 3 is the fact that we have the KO guard mechanic, which essentially allows you to have a second life across your entire team no matter who's out on the battlefield. So this guy gets solar flared, he gets rising rushed. It doesn't matter anymore because you got KO guard, right? So that can happen, you're fine still. So I think this character's value has increased significantly with the addition of Namek Goku in the game, especially if you're going to be running them next to Namek Goku, which you should probably do if you're going to run a Saiyan team. Like if you're running a Saiyan team right now without using Namek Goku, you're just running an inferior version of a Saiyan team, right? Namek Goku is the best Saiyan in the game. If you're not running Namek Goku, then you're just running a non-optimal Saiyan team. So that's, you know, going to factor into my evaluation of this character because I'm evaluating all these characters on their best builds, right? So pure Saiyan Saga, I guess you could do still. If you are running pure Saiyan Saga, I think I still probably would favor Tien and Chaozu on that specific team build, but on like a mixed team, whether it's just a Saiyan team or a Saiyan Saga team with Namek Goku leadered, this guy I think is better for sure. So gonna have this guy at number 8. Let's move on to number 7 next. Number 7 is going to be Ultra Hit. I think this character is still a very powerful unit. Of course, he's not going to have nearly the same amount of just like one shot, boom, you're instantly dead potential that he did in Part 1 of the anniversary. This guy, I think, definitely got hurt a little bit for Part 2 of the anniversary because they started introducing a lot more revival characters into the game, characters with second lives, right? And now even more so with Part 3, we have Namek Goku, who has the KO guard mechanic. For those of you who don't know, you cannot time skip through the KO guard mechanic. If you kill somebody with the time skip while the KO guard is still active, the KO guard will still trigger and you will not be able to kill the opponent. So the time skip, I don't think, is as deadly as it was before Part 3 dropped, so it is getting a little bit weaker as time goes on here, and we get characters with these like ridiculous second life mechanics. Now we have Namek Goku with an AoE indestructible, essentially is what it is, mechanic. So the time skip, not just like a one-hitter quitter thing that it used to be, but it is still very, very strong, right? If you get a time skip off and you proc the KO guard, that's value on the time skip. I mean, right, his Hit is still doing his job, right? You're getting rid of the KO guard. Hit is a character where you can definitely see 2 or even potentially sometimes even 3 time skips per match. So just because you're using the first time skip to get rid of the KO guard doesn't mean that you're out of the fight. Like that doesn't automatically render Hit useless. It's not a situation where it's like Frieza and Cell, where Frieza and Cell have the insanely strong seal mechanic, and then outside of that, they're essentially just a fodder character. Not the case with Hit. Hit is pretty tanky. He's very strong offensively, and he's got the time skip in his back pocket. So I think Hit is a pretty strong character. As we get more characters that kind of fit in with their new design philosophy with the damage guard and the damage numbers, Hit is starting to feel a little bit less tanky than he was, right? When Hit dropped in Part 1 with his platinum equipment, he was like almost unkillable, right? You really had to have like UI Goku to handle this guy, right, when he first dropped. Then we started getting the Part 2 characters, the Saiyan Saga characters, Kaioken Goku, Vegeta. Then we got the Blue Goku. Now in Part 3, we have like Frieza, who's coming in and just doing mountains and mountains of damage. So this character isn't nearly as tanky as he was when he first got his platinum equipment, but I think he's still got the stats and bulk and damage to do the job. And I think he certainly can do the job that he needs to do even during Part 3 of the 7th anniversary. So I'm going to have him here at number 7. Let's move on to number 6. All right, number 6 is going to be Ultra Perfect Cell. This is a character that I think got helped and hurt at the same time with the Part 3 characters. I do think he got helped in 2 ways. Number 1, obviously, he's going to be pretty effective against Goku because of Goku being yellow. So in the straight color versus color setup, Cell has an advantage there. And I think he gets helped with Frieza's release because Frieza is going to obviously pair up well with Cell to be used on the same team, on a powerful opponent build. I think they should pair up pretty well, right? Red and green are good colors. They're both blast characters. They can both share some good equipment with each other. And it should be pretty easy to get them together on the same team. There is one caveat with that, though. It is kind of tough to get like a comprehensive bench for them in combination with getting a full Ultra ability up for them, right? Because Cell's Ultra ability is androids, Frieza's LOE. At the end of the day, let's just tell it like it is. You're going to have to prioritize Frieza's Ultra ability. So you're going to be putting Frieza in the leader slot, which ultimately means that Cell probably won't have any, if at all, the full Ultra ability obviously he's not going to have, but he might not even have any of the Ultra ability up. So that can hurt him a little bit, but the partnership is there. The downside, if we talk about the Frieza side first, the downside of Cell releasing, the downside of Frieza releasing for Cell is the fact that Frieza can very, very easily overtake Cell's half HP Disrupt with a Death Beam. All it takes is like one Death Beam to get through it, and Cell's Disrupt essentially is nullified, so that's not very good for Cell, character who already had pretty mediocre / weak defenses. And then the second thing, of course, with Goku, it is the fact that this Cell, who has permanent endurance nullification, one of his claims to fame, it got a little bit worse, I would say, definitely because of Goku's KO guard mechanic, right? Cell comes in, just Gatling guns down full power Frieza. He kills full power Frieza. Unfortunately, it's not going to work because of Goku's KO guard if you're fighting something like the Frieza Saga team, for example, right? Any team with Namek Goku on it, you're not really going to be able to as effectively use the quote-unquote guaranteed kill that Ultra Cell has with the permanent endurance nullification, but Cell, extremely powerful offensively, still is able to kind of just remove the damage guard with like one ultimate. Then he comes back in, rushes, and he's killing somebody a lot of times, right? So that's definitely a thing that he can do. Still a very powerful character. Definitely starting to feel this character get power crept defensively. Like he's, you know, we came into the anniversary, UI Goku was kind of banging this guy around a little bit, for sure, with his strikes and blasts doing like half his HP. His counters were like one-shotting this guy. But now we're starting to see like type neutral characters, the Part 2 Saiyan Saga characters, Frieza, come in and just absolutely wallop Cell, right? Even Namek Goku comes in. Remember, Namek Goku, after he fills his gauge up twice, goes type neutral. So Namek Goku can switch in against the Cell, lock him in, and just kill him. He can. So defensiveness is definitely not something we can look at with the Cell and say that he's looking pretty good. This is, at this point, essentially a super hyper mega offensive character, and that's really what his role is. But he definitely still, I think, does that role pretty well. But I think, you know, that there is quite a separation here once we start talking about the next character on the list between 6 and then the top 5. But I do think this Cell does pair up very well with full power Frieza. It's just, you know, there are some areas where you definitely need to be a lot more careful with this character than used to be the case even just like 3 or 4 weeks ago. So I do have Ultra Cell here at number 6. Let's move on to the top 5. And like I said, I do think there is a pretty significant separation between the top 5 and the rest of the list. All right, so we're going to kick off the top 5 with UI Goku. I definitely think this guy probably got hurt the most by Part 3 out of the anniversary characters, right? We had, well, second got hurt second most. There is one anniversary headliner that we are not going to be talking about in this video, but this guy got hurt the second most, I think, by the Part 3 characters. This guy just has a horrifyingly bad matchup versus full power Frieza, but on the other hand, I think he does pair up pretty well with Namek Goku, right? Namek Goku, here's how the Namek Goku KO guard mechanic works. If you are a character that has endurance and your endurance gets nullified and you would have otherwise have died either by a character nullifying your endurance with like an ultimate or something that would like, so let's just put this into a situation, right? You are UI Goku and your opponent is Ultra Full Power Frieza. Ultra Full Power Frieza pops his main ability, uses his ultimate, and kills this character, right? Because his ultimate, of course, is going to nullify your endurance. If you are running this character next to Namek Goku at that point would activate his KO guard mechanic. However, this UI Goku's endurance would not have been used. So after the KO guard mechanic goes off, this character will still have his endurance, even though Full Power Frieza's ultimate should have theoretically nullified the endurance. So I think that's a pretty powerful thing, actually. Like I feel like that's a interaction that might not have been completely intended, but for whatever reason it is in the game. I think if it wasn't actually intended, they probably would have fixed it at this point or addressed it or something like that. But the fact that you get to keep your endurance is actually pretty crazy. So you theoretically could have a UI Goku with 3 lives next to Ultra Namek Goku, which is pretty good. But like I said, it just becomes very difficult to effectively use this guy as we've been using him for the past, month and a half since he's come out, because of Ultra Full Power Frieza's ability to just kind of like spam the Death Beam, right? If you're with this character switched in and your opponent is using Full Power Frieza, you can't just buy time and stall the match and get cheap counter damage in with this character, because Full Power Frieza swaps in, uses the Death Beam, and you're just going to have to vanish, and you're going to have to switch right after you vanish. Typically with the character like this, a lot of times you would be able to just vanish and sit there, utilize the auto dodge gauge to get your vanish back, and then you kind of like buy time that way, and you have multiple vanishes, and you could go for the counter on this guy when he's transformed. The green card, you have the main ability to get your vanish back multiple times. It is just difficult to do what this character wants to do with Full Power Frieza. It really does almost feel like Full Power Frieza was designed almost specifically to counter this character, which I actually am kind of glad that that's the case, because this character is super mega annoying to fight against. I actually asked for this. I asked to get like a super mega powerful green ultra that would kind of neutralize this guy. I don't think this character was entirely neutralized, otherwise he would not be number 5 on the list. Still a very powerful character, right? If you have a dead, let's just, for example, say if you have a dead ally and you pop your main ability with the transformed version of this character, he can one-shot anybody, right? Full Power Frieza, remember this guy goes type neutral. He could kill Full Power Frieza. I mean, it's going to be tough because Full Power Frieza has buff removal, but he could theoretically kill Full Power Frieza with a blue, potentially type neutral, if he's like not swapped in or something, and gets his vanish back whenever gets his unique gauge back whenever the enemy switches, gets his vanish back with the main ability, can get his unique gauge back with 100 different things. Like, we all know how good this UI Goku is. I just think it's become a little bit tougher to use this guy with Full Power Frieza existing in the game now. So I'm gonna have UI Goku at number 5. We'll see how things progress from here, what other kinds of characters we get moving forward, but Saiyans, God Ki, typically find their way back into the meta just because of new characters that come out. Those are tags that are just immensely popular, and I would imagine that this character probably will have a pretty good life moving forward throughout the rest of this year, but we will see. We will see. As of right now, I'm going to put UI Goku at number 5. Let's move on to number 4. All right, so number 4, we have Saiyan Saga Vegeta. This character is just a very solid all-around unit. To me, this is a good example of just like a character that does almost everything super well. This is, you know what's funny about this character? This is like when we got the unique equip for Yellow Full Power Frieza, we talked about in this video already. I used him, and obviously you can even just rewind in this video to be talking about him. I think he's a very good all-around character. Good damage, solid defenses. He's got disrupt. He's supporting. Like, I just really like the way that they designed him, right? And his unique equip, I think, complements what he wants to do pretty well. This guy is similar to me. I mean, he's just this guy. I mean, this is a obviously better version of what that character wants to do. He's just doing better damage. He's tanking similarly, but he's got better disrupt. He's got the second life, obviously, which makes him better. But all around, I really like the way that this character is designed. He's got the unconditional sub countdown on standby, which I think obviously pairs up really well with his ability to get the second life with the revive mechanic. Yeah, I don't really know what else there is to really say about this character. Just really powerful all around. And this is also a comment I'm going to make when we get to Full Power Frieza, but might as well mention it here because I think it's relevant for this character too. But purple is very weak, and it has been for a long time. So I think that actually really does help this character quite a bit. There not really being any monster purples right now. This guy is able to kind of just be put on any team, and that helps this guy even further because you can put this guy on a team next to Frieza, run a double green setup, and you're really not going to be in jeopardy of like, oh, we're encountering this monster purple when I'm running double green. We're kind of at a huge disadvantage here. That's not the case because a monster purple doesn't really exist right now. So that helps his character as well. And overall, I don't really have anything negative to say about this guy, really. I mean, I don't know. There really isn't anything. The only thing I guess I could say is he doesn't support, really, but I don't know if I want to knock him for that because he's doing pretty much everything else exceptionally well. So I really like the way that they designed this character. And hopefully we'll see if they continue with this design trend of Second Life characters that like, so a lot of times when we look at Second Life characters, a lot of times they like kind of gimp their pre-revived form because they put a lot of the power into the second half of the character once they've revived. This guy definitely is stronger once he revives because he gets the extra stat buffs. I think he gets a slightly better kit when he revives, but it's not really much different. But with this guy, they kind of just made a really good character pre-revival and a really good character post-revival. So we'll see if they continue doing that moving forward, if we get any more reviving characters or like comeback characters or whatever moving forward this year. But yeah, I think Saiyan Saga Vegeta is a very good unit, pairs up well with Ultra Cell, pairs up well with Full Power Frieza considering the lack of purples right now, and I think of course his teams are very good, right? So we have Saiyan Saga, we talked about Powerful Opponent already, you could just use him on an all-purpose Saiyan team next to Namek Goku. Really flexible, Second Life Rising Rush defense character, really, really well designed. So Saiyan Saga Vegeta, number 4, let's move on to number 3. All right, so coming in at number 3, we have LF transforming Kaioken Goku from the Saiyan Saga. At this point, I do think most people understand how good this character is, understand his weaknesses and strengths. Well, I mean, very few weaknesses, I guess I should add in there. This guy is very good. I do think he gets helped more than gets hurt by the Part 3 characters. When it comes to Full Power Frieza, I mean, Full Power Frieza definitely can tear this guy in half, but I mean, I'm not going to knock him for that because that's what happens to the entire game. But when it comes to Namek Goku, the one weakness, if we even want to call it a weakness, I mean, the one negative about this character that really comes to mind when we think about this character's performance during Part 2 of the anniversary, even before the Part 3 characters dropped, is the fact that this guy does not have any kind of Second Life mechanic. Again, I don't think he needs it because he's just very tanky without one. But it kind of makes you a little bit apprehensive to initiate with a character that doesn't have a Second Life mechanic. You go for a full screen blast, you can get rushed. You go for a mid-range blast, you get rushed. Like, there's a million things that can go wrong. You go for a mid-range solar flare, you get PV'd, you get rushed. Like, so it's a little bit more risky to go for proactive attacks and proactive maneuvers with characters that don't have Second Life mechanics. Well, with Namek Goku, you can take a bit more risks with this character and actually be a bit more proactive with him. So I think that does help him more. It allows you to be a bit more risky with the plays you want to make. I think that really does help what this character's goal is, right? The main thing about this character, I would say even more than the bulk, is the damage, right? This character does a lot of damage. He's got type neutral with the blue card, or sorry, with the green card. He's got vanish restoration with the main ability, and of course, I mentioned it briefly, but the solar flare is very powerful, very, very strong. They did give Namek Goku immunity to abnormal conditions for the first 60 counts. So for the first 60 counts, you want to just keep that in mind when it comes to using the solar flare against an enemy who's using Namek Goku. But I mean, 60 counts is pretty early into the fight. That's until 120 timer counts are left in the fight. By that point, a lot of times you haven't even really utilized the transformation to go into Kaioken. So it's really not that big of a deal, but the solar flare is still extremely powerful. I think maybe it got hurt a little bit, unironically, by Namek Goku, because you solar, like, let's just say before Namek Goku drops, you get a solar flare off against like UI Goku. You go type neutral, you pop your main to draw a blue, you pop the blue, you nullify his endurance, you kill him. Boom. UI Goku's out, you pretty much win the game off of that. If the opponent is running Namek Goku now, you can't really do that. I mean, you can, but Namek Goku would prevent UI Goku from dying. So I think you can capitalize less efficiently off of the solar flare because Namek Goku exists, but it is, of course, still a very, very powerful mechanic. And I do think this character next to Namek Goku is a pretty strong combo. And one of the teams that I've seen a lot of people running is just the 3-part Gokus together, right? Parts 1 through 3 of the anniversary, Namek Goku, Kaioken Goku, this guy, and UI Goku all together, because I think it actually works pretty well. I do. Of course, you can always run this guy in a Saiyan Saga team. You can run this guy on Saiyan Saga with like Saiyan Saga Vegeta with Namegoku in the lead. There's a lot of flexibility this character has just because he's a Goku character and a Saiyan character, which of course they've dropped a lot of recently in this anniversary. So I really do like this character a lot. Defensively, he's strong. He's going type neutral defensively, and he's getting extra damage guard when the opponent uses a blue card. Just overall, a really, really powerful and strong character. I think they did certainly Kaioken Goku justice with this character because we've been asking for a long time for an LF Kaioken Goku from the Saiyan Saga, and 7 years in, they finally delivered, and I think they nailed it. So number 3 is going to be Transforming Kaioken Goku. Let's move on to number 2. All right, so coming in at number 2, we have Ultra Super Saiyan Namek Goku. You guys at this point have had almost a week to test this guy out and fight against him. Just a very, very good all-around character. This guy's got a lock-in, he's got type neutrality, he's drawing cards, he's got an AoE green, he's immune to card destruction, he has a very easy-to-use Ultra ability with it being Saiyan, so you can kind of slide him into a lot of different teams, not just, kind of like a leader slot merchant, which is what we typically see with a lot of Ultra characters, right? Ultra Cell, right? Android's Ultra ability kind of has to be thrown into leader slot to get the most out of his Ultra ability. With this guy's Saiyans, right? You just don't want a Saiyan team. Very, very easy to do. Doesn't necessarily need to go in lead. One thing I do really like about this character is this is a pretty unselfish unit. The fact that he's healing the entire team and supporting the team with his gauge, I like that a lot because I think that's what's going to give longevity to this character. Obviously, on top of the main allure that this guy has, which we can open this thing and take a look at it right here, the KO guard mechanic. This is probably the single most overpowered thing in the game, maybe next to Frieza's active gauge, which we'll talk about when we get to Frieza. But this, I think, has a lot bigger long-term implications than the Frieza active gauge. And the reason why I say this is because, let's just say Legends Fest drops, we end up getting, I don't know, let's just say like Ultra Dragon Ball Super Broly. By far the strongest character offensively in the game. Maybe his defenses aren't the greatest. Maybe he doesn't have a second life mechanic, but if he gets you caught in a combo, you are dead, right? Let's just say that's a character that drops. Well, you pair that character, theoretically, next to Namek Goku, and all of a sudden, that character, that Broly in this instance is the example I'm using, would have a second life mechanic. You could just give the characters on your team a second life mechanic. A lot of times I've gotten asked before, how do I feel about a mechanic that would let you revive a defeated ally? And I've always kind of thought about that to myself, and the conclusion I always come to about a mechanic like that is it would probably just be too good. This is essentially just a pseudo version of that. This is like a modified version of reviving an ally, right? You give a second life to a character that wasn't designed to have a second life. That's I think it's actually a little risky to do that, because now moving forward, they're going to have to constantly be thinking about, okay, we're going to release this like monster character. How does this work? Is this going to be okay with the KO guard mechanic coming in from Namek Goku? Like, that's going to be the first thing people are probably going to be thinking about. How does this fit in with the KO guard on Namek Goku? So that, again, plus the support he's giving, plus the healing to the whole team. This is a team player character. This is not just your standard, like Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta drops. He's kind of like the one-man army traditional Ultra character. This is Goku is doing a lot on his own, but he's also heavily influencing how good the rest of the team is around him. And I really do like that a lot. Of course, he has a lot of cheap abilities too. Again, I mentioned the AoE green card, which you can very easily drop combo with, because if you drop combo with the AoE green and the opponent rushes you, congratulations, he's got the KO card mechanic, heals back to 70% health, and that's your Rising Rush out of the way, right? So that's pretty good. Obviously, the main thing about this character with the unique gauge in particular is the lock-in. A lot of parallels have been drawn between this guy and Majin Vegeta. I think there are some similarities, but the thing that sets this guy apart from Majin Vegeta, other than the fact that I think Majin Vegeta, of course, his auto counter gauge made him a lot more pesky to deal with than this guy, is just the more consistent lock-ins that this guy has, on top of the ridiculously powerful blue cards combined with the chance that it has to faint, right? This guy enters the battlefield with a full gauge. remember, if you've used 2 of his gauges, he has type neutral, and he can come in, hit you with a strike while you're locked in, combo it into a blue that maybe gets rid of your endurance or something, and then you can get fainted. So yeah, this guy's got a lot of tools up his sleeve. I think he is very, very powerful. If there's one area that I would critique this character, it's I don't think his equipment are very good. That is the one area where I'm kind of looking at this guy, and you know, if there's anything I can improve, what would I improve? It's just his equipment I don't find to be particularly great. They did do something with these characters that we've never seen before with other Ultra releases. Typically, I think this goes for every single Ultra character we've ever gotten, maybe except for like the first few. I think actually no, because I think Ultra Blue Kaioken Goku definitely had this, and then Super Vegito had this, but I think Super Gogeta might not have had that. I'd have to go back and check, but Super Gogeta might be the only other case, the very first summonable Ultra that did not have this. This guy and Ultra Full Power Frieza did not get unique equips when they dropped. Right, typically we get unique equips with every summonable Ultra character, but these guys did not get those. I wonder if they're waiting to drop those tomorrow because we got a ton of new equipment when these guys dropped at the same time, and maybe they didn't want to overwhelm us with so many new equips at the same time. Whatever the reason is, they did not drop unique equips for these guys, so I'm thinking maybe they'll drop them tomorrow during reset, but we'll see. But I think that is the one area for this Namegoku that I would point to as kind of like the one weakness in the character, is his equips are pretty bad, actually. They're pretty bad, especially in comparison to Frieza, who has like really good equips. So yeah, I really like this Namegoku a lot. I think on the Frieza Saga team, especially pairing this guy up next to Frieza, you got the Krillin support, you got the death buffs, you got the extra damage guard, the health restoration. Everything is just, it meshes together very well, and I think this character should, in theory, age very, very well. So we'll see. I mean, they could just drop like a Monster Red next week with the after party and he's dead. Like, it's possible, but I think he should age pretty well. So I have Ultra Super Saiyan Namegoku at number 2. Let's talk about number 1. All right, so coming in at number 1, to the surprise of probably nobody, is Ultra Full Power Frieza. If you want to talk about an oppressive kit, if you want to talk about just like a single very oppressive mechanic, look no further than the Death Beam, the active gauge. This is the second character to ever have an active gauge, but what I like what they've done with this is it's not just a carbon copy of what Beast Gohan introduced. So Beast Gohan, of course, has the special beam cannon, but Frieza has the Death Beam, which is just completely designed differently than how the special beam cannon was designed. So I actually do like this because it means that when we move forward with other active gauges, I am expecting that those will also be different probably than even what we've seen so far with these 2 gauges. So I do like that. I like that it's a different approach to a mechanic that we already know. So that is cool. But the actual mechanic itself is just so ridiculous. Like, let's just pull up the actual details of it. The active gauge. He needs just to have 40% of the gauge to launch the Death Beam. This is essentially a long-ranged blue card. Obviously, it's not going to hit as hard as most long-range blue cards, but in some instances, it definitely does feel like it. This essentially is a long-range blue, short animation, right, with combo ability. So imagine, like, I mean, I don't even know. Like, imagine... what's the best parallel I could even draw with this? Who's had a long-range blue recently as a character that's dropped? I'm trying to think. Like, Frieza doesn't, Goku doesn't, Part 2 characters don't, Part 1 characters all have melee blues. Like, I don't know, like Kid Goku. Imagine like Kid Goku's blue card, you could combo off of that. Like, it's just, it doesn't even make sense. It doesn't even make sense. Right, you being able to combo off of this to short animation, it's very, very easy to gain gauge. All you got to do is get hit, and then you also gain gauge when you use blast cards, and then you gain gauge when you have your full unique gauge, which fills up when you attack. So it all just kind of chains into each other. Right, all these mechanics this character has access to with the unique gauge and the green card, which fills up the unique gauge even more, which feeds into the active gauge, and the active gauge gives you more cards to feed into filling up the unique gauge more, right? All of these things just chain into each other and feed off of each other, that it just becomes way, way too overwhelming most of the time for your opponent to deal with, right? And when you have a full unique gauge, you're getting endurance nullification and type neutral, right? One of the things, and we talked about this with the Saiyan Saga Vegeta section of this when we talked about him, I believe it was number 4 on this list, is one very good thing about being a green character right now is there are very, very limited good purples in the game. In fact, there are no what I would call dominant purple characters. In fact, if we took a look at this list, just look at the list. There is not a single purple character on this list. Zero. Not one. So, you know, purple being pretty weak right now, I think helps this character, in addition, of course, to Saiyan Saga Vegeta. But even if we did have a very strong purple character, this guy's got tools to deal with that. I mean, we could just talk about everything he's doing defensively, right? He's got type neutral defensively on cover change. In addition to ki reduction, he's got the, what is it, +2 or +3 sub count to enemy when he gets hit for the first time. He's healing himself. He's lowering ally sub count. He's increasing the enemy arts cost. And he's got endurance with buff removal and sub count down for allies when an enemy uses a blue ultimate or rising rush. Like, that's some of the strongest defensive utility we've seen in a long time, right? They said going into their new design philosophy, we want to have characters fulfill certain roles, right? So we're going to have characters be offensive specialists. We're going to have characters be defensive specialists. Not all these characters are going to have card draw speed. It's going to be reserved specifically for characters that have done long combos in the original series. So they want characters to have their own identities. And then they come and give us this. Where this guy has like the strongest offensive kit in the game, but also his defensive utility is like almost off the charts in addition to what he's doing offensively. So it's very, very tough to look at what they said and draw a straight line to this Frieza's design, because it's just, there's going to be a million curves in that line, right? How did they get here? How did they get here from there, right? But overall, this guy is just ridiculous. The combos is able to chain together. It's just, it becomes very, very overwhelming. And I would bring up the team issues, but I mean, you throw this guy on a team with like 2 supports, and essentially it's just a one-man army version of the team where it's this guy doing 99% of the work, and it works. It works because how insane he is, right? You throw this guy on a team with like Krillin and Revival Frieza, and this guy just takes care of the trash. He takes the trash out. That's what he does. He's the garbage man. He just takes the garbage out, grinds it up, and disposes of it. That's literally what he does. Comes in, we talk about how bulky Kaioken Goku is. We talk about how tough it is to kill the Saiyan Saga team. This guy is coming in 300% damage, basically has like a 5th card slot with a long-range comboable blue card. He's chaining in greens. He's stacking 30% damage per strike and blast that he uses, and he's just ravaging everything, right? Not to mention he has a pretty good main ability. I haven't really seen many people talking about this, but I think it is a very big factor with this character, right? On top of the fact that he just gains a Dragon Ball and destroys an enemy Dragon Ball, he's getting a full unique gauge from his main ability, which, guess what? Gives you your active gauge, and then the active gauge then feeds into more cards. Then you use your unique gauge back, you fill it back up, you get more active gauge, and again, it's just this never-ending cycle of just complete domination by this character. So I mean, that is, you know, we could mention the team issue, but I don't know, right? I mean, Namek Goku certainly, I think, has this guy trumped in terms of just the team argument, but this guy doesn't have like no teams either. I think Frieza Saga is decent, right? This guy plus Namek Goku and Krillin. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of how Krillin was designed, but as a battery for these 2 insanely powerful Ultra characters, the team works. It is one of the best teams in the game. We take a look at Lineage of Evil. Again, I think the yellow full power Frieza with his equip is very solid. I think Revival Frieza with his Zenkai is good, and you just throw this guy on the team, and all of a sudden you have all these crazy unique equips, or not unique equips, pure damage equips on this character. He's just decimating everything. You have a second life on the Revival Frieza. You got support from both them. Remember, the yellow Frieza supporting when you fall below 70% HP. You have an insane bench for that team with all the Zenkai abilities coming in on all the Frieza characters and powerful opponent units. You can throw this guy on a strict powerful opponent setup next to Ultra Cell and Green Saiyan Saga Vegeta. You can afford to run 2 greens because there's not really many purples to worry about right now. This guy is in a very good spot. He certainly is. I mean, it really is the case. But even if we do get a strong purple character, I mean, he's going type neutral defensively when he swaps in. He's going type neutral offensively when he uses his active gauge with a full unique gauge up, and he's penetrating endurance. You can, theoretically, you could have a full unique gauge, pop his active gauge, and then just rush and have endurance nullifying rising rush with this guy. So, I mean, this guy really has the ability to do almost everything right now. I would say that against certain characters like Kaioken Goku, Namek Goku, he can take a lot of damage for sure. Again, he has very good defensive disrupt utility, but in terms of pure bulk, I mean, unless the opponent's got a lot of combo compensation, Namek Goku with his lock engage can come in and really wallop this guy. I mean, it's true, he can. But for the most part, this guy is the one doing the dominating. So I'm going to have Ultra Full Power Frieza here at number 1 on the list. I think his gauge is just too oppressive. You guys can even go back to I think it was my breakdown video with this guy. I really said, and I think I said that it was that video where I talked about this, but I looked at the active gauge mechanic and I'm like, this thing really can be the most overpowered ability in the entire game. And I think it is up there right next to the KO guard mechanic with Namek Goku. I think those things are both insane. So just to recap quickly the list that we had here, at number 10, we had the LF Yellow Full Power Frieza. Number 9, we had Ultra Majin Vegeta. Number 8, we have Blue Saiyan Saga Goku. Number 7, we have Ultra Hit. Number 6, Ultra Perfect Cell. Number 5, LF Transforming Mastered Ultra Instinct Goku. Number 4, LF Saiyan Saga Vegeta. Number 3, LF Transforming Kaioken Goku. Number 2, Ultra Super Saiyan Namek Goku. And number 1, Ultra Full Power Frieza. Let me know down below what you guys agree or disagree with the placements in this list. If you would change anything about the list, let me know. But I hope this was insightful and you guys enjoyed this one, and I will see you in the next one.